man wearing a motorcycle helmet walked into Marcello's Italian restaurant just as the lunch crowd was starting to thin out. His leather jacket looked old and worn, his jeans were faded, his boots left small wet marks on the shiny marble floor. No one knew who he was. He kept the helmet on and walked up to the hostess stand. "Table for one," he said quietly. The hostess, a young woman named Emily, smiled at him. "Of course, right this way." She started to lead him to a small booth in the corner, but before they could reach it, a sharp voice cut through the room. "Stop right there." The restaurant manager, Gerald Morrison, walked quickly across the dining room. He was wearing an expensive suit, and his face was hard and unfriendly. "We have a dress code," Gerald said, looking the man up and down with clear dislike. "I'm afraid you don't meet it." The man slowly took off his helmet. Emily's eyes went wide. A few people nearby gasped. It was Keanu Reeves. Keanu stood there with the helmet under his arm. His hair was wet and pushed back from his face. He looked tired. He had been writing for 3 hours and only wanted a quiet meal. "I'm sorry," Keanu said politely. "There's a dress code?" Gerald did not change his expression. Either he didn't recognize Keanu or he didn't care. "Jacket and tie are required for lunch service. No exceptions." "I'm wearing a jacket," Keanu said, pointing to his leather riding jacket. "A proper jacket," Gerald replied coldly. "Not that?" Emily looked embarrassed and uncomfortable. "Mr. Morrison, maybe we could make an exception just this once." "No exceptions," Gerald cut her off. "Rules exist for a reason. They keep our standards." A woman at a nearby table whispered to the person with her, a little too loudly, "Is that Keanu Reeves?" Her friend was already pulling out her phone and recording. Keanu stayed calm. "I understand you have standards, but I've ridden a long way. I just want a quiet lunch. I'll take any table. I won't bother anyone." "I'm sure there are many places better suited to your style," Gerald said, waving his hand at Keanu's clothes. "Maybe a diner or a fast food place." Every word sounded insulting. Emily actually flinched. Keanu's face stayed calm, but something changed in his eyes. It wasn't anger. It looked more like disappointment. "So you're refusing to serve me?" Keanu asked softly. "I'm protecting our standards," Gerald said. "Now, if you would please leave the way you came in, we can all go back to our meals." Keanu slowly looked around the restaurant. At the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the paintings on the walls, the staff standing still and watching from their stations. He knew every detail of this place, every light, every painting, every fixture, because 3 weeks earlier he had bought the restaurant. But Gerald Morrison didn't know that. The sale had been conducted through Keanu's business manager. Complete confidentiality. The staff had been told there was a new owner, but no name had been provided. That announcement was scheduled for tomorrow. "All right," Keanu said finally. "I'll leave, but I'd like to speak with the owner first." Gerald actually laughed. "The owner doesn't take meetings with walk-ins off the street, especially those who can't follow basic dress codes." "Humor me," Keanu said. "Just give them a call. Tell them Keanu Reeves would like a word." "Mr. Reeves," Gerald said, his tone dripping with fake politeness, "I don't care if you're the King of England. Our standards apply to everyone." Several diners had their phones out now, recording the entire exchange. This was going to be all over social media within the hour. Emily looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. A server named Marcus stood nearby, visibly uncomfortable. "Gerald," Marcus said carefully, "maybe we should just—" "Marcus, return to your section," Gerald snapped. "I'm handling this." Keanu put his helmet back on slowly, deliberately. "I'll leave. But you should know, you just made a very big mistake." "The only mistake would be compromising our standards," Gerald said. "Emily, please escort this gentleman out." Emily looked like she might cry, but she stepped forward. "I'm so sorry," she whispered to Keanu. "Not your fault," Keanu said gently. "You were just being kind." As he walked toward the exit, the woman who'd been recording called out, "Mr. Reeves, this is terrible. We all saw what happened." Keanu turned and smiled at her. "It's fine. Really. Have a wonderful lunch." Then he was gone. The restaurant erupted in whispered conversations. Gerald clapped his hands sharply. "Everyone, please, let's return to normal service. The situation has been handled." But Marcus approached him, phone in hand. "Gerald, do you know who that was?" "Some actor who thinks fame exempts him from rules," Gerald said, dismissively. "That was Keanu Reeves," Marcus said. "One of the most respected people in Hollywood. He's famous for being kind to everyone, and you just threw him out." Gerald waved a hand. "Celebrities get special treatment everywhere else, not here. Here, standards matter." "Gerald," Emily said, her voice shaking, "this is going to be a PR nightmare." "No," Gerald said firmly. "This shows that Marcello's maintains integrity, that we don't bow to celebrity entitlement. If anything, this will attract customers who appreciate true class." Marcus and Emily exchanged glances. They both knew this was a disaster. But Gerald was the manager. He'd been running Marcello's for 8 years. He had authority. Within 2 hours, the video was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Manager kicks out Keanu Reeves for dress code violation trended worldwide. The comments were brutal. The restaurant's phone started ringing. Most calls were from angry people demanding Gerald be fired. Some were from media outlets wanting statements. A few were from regular customers saying they'd never return. Gerald ignored all of it. Social media outrage is temporary, he told his staff during the dinner service prep. People will forget this by tomorrow. What matters is that we maintained our standards. Emily bit her lip. Marcus shook his head. The kitchen staff exchanged worried looks. By evening, the story had been picked up by major news outlets, entertainment sites, even business publications. And still, Gerald remained defiant. I did nothing wrong, he told a reporter who'd called. Marcello's has a dress code. We apply it equally. That's not discrimination. That's consistency. The reporter asked if he'd apologized to Keanu Reeves. Gerald laughed. Apologize for upholding standards? Absolutely not. That evening, Gerald received an email from the new owner's office. The email was brief. Mr. Morrison, please attend a mandatory staff meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp. The new owner will be Twaft, introducing themselves and discussing the restaurant's future direction. Attendance is required for all management and staff. Gerald smiled. Perfect. He'd explain the situation to the new owner, show them he was protecting the restaurant's reputation. Surely they'd understand. He went home that night feeling vindicated. Meanwhile, Keanu sat in his Los Angeles home, reading through reports about the restaurant. His business manager, Linda, sat across from him. The backlash is significant, Linda said. Morrison's being torn apart online. Several celebrities have publicly supported you and condemned the restaurant. I don't want anyone attacking the restaurant, Keanu said. This isn't about the business. It's about one person's behavior. Do you still want to go through with tomorrow's meeting? Linda asked. Keanu nodded slowly. Yes, but I want to understand something first. Pull Morrison's employment file. I want to know if this is a pattern. Linda made a note. Already on it. I've also been calling staff members, getting their perspectives on Morrison's management style. What are they saying? Linda's expression darkened. Nothing good. Multiple complaints about his treatment of customers and staff. Apparently, the previous owner tolerated it because Morrison kept the books clean and the restaurant profitable. Profit doesn't justify cruelty, Keanu said quietly. No, Linda agreed. It doesn't. The next morning, the staff of Marcello's gathered in the main dining room. Everyone was there. Servers, hosts, kitchen staff, managers, sommeliers. About 35 people total. Gerald stood at the front, confident. He'd prepared a brief explanation of yesterday's incident, framing it as a defense of standards. At exactly 9 a.m., the door opened. Keanu Reeves walked in, no helmet this time, just jeans, a simple black t-shirt, and the same leather jacket from yesterday. The room went dead silent. Emily's hand flew to her mouth. Marcus's eyes went wide. Several staff members started whispering urgently. Gerald frowned, confused. Why was yesterday's problem customer here? Then Linda walked in behind Keanu, carrying a briefcase. Good morning, everyone, she said professionally. Thank you for being here. I'm Linda Chen, business manager for the new owner of Marcello's. I'd like to introduce you to him now. She gestured to Keanu. This is Keanu Reeves, your new owner. The color drained from Gerald's face so fast he actually swayed. The staff erupted in shocked gasps and excited whispers. Emily looked like she might faint. Marcus started laughing, not cruelly, but in sheer disbelief at the cosmic justice of it all. Keanu stepped forward, addressing the room. Good morning. I know this is unexpected. I purchased Marcello's 3 weeks ago because I believe in its potential. This restaurant has history, legacy, and an incredible staff. His eyes swept the room, landing briefly on each person. I also believe in treating people with dignity and respect. Everyone, from the wealthiest customer to someone who just walked in from the rain. He paused. Yesterday I came here as a regular customer. I'd been riding my motorcycle. I was tired, hungry. I wanted a quiet meal. His gaze locked onto Gerald. I was refused service because of my appearance. Gerald opened his mouth, but no words came out. Keanu continued, his voice calm but firm. Mr. Morrison, you told me that standards matter, that rules exist for a reason. You're absolutely right. Standards do matter. But there's a difference between maintaining class and using rules as an excuse for discrimination. Gerald found his voice. Mr. Reeves, I was simply enforcing the established dress code. I didn't know. That's exactly the point, Keanu interrupted. You didn't know who I was, and that colored how you treated me. What if I'd been a construction worker stopping by on his lunch break, a motorcycle enthusiast traveling through town, an artist, a teacher, anyone without fame or obvious wealth? Gerald stammered. I would have. The dress code applies to everyone. Does it? Keanu asked. He looked at Linda, who pulled out a tablet. Over the past year, Linda said, reading from the screen, Marcello's has hosted 17 private events where guests wore business casual or even smart casual attire. No jackets and ties required. The dress code was waived. Gerald's face flushed. Those were private events, different circumstances. Last month, Linda continued, a city councilman came for lunch wearing khakis and a polo shirt. No jacket, no tie. You personally seated him at the best table and comped his wine. Murmurs rippled through the staff. Several people nodded, remembering. That's different, Gerald protested. He's a regular, a valued patron. So the rules apply to everyone, Keanu said quietly, except when you decide they don't, which means they're not really rules. They're weapons you use to decide who belongs and who doesn't. The silence in the room was deafening. Marcus spoke up from the back. Gerald, you know this is true. I've seen you turn away families because their kids weren't properly dressed, but you've let wealthy customers slide on the dress code dozens of times. That's not, Gerald started. You told a woman last month her sundress wasn't formal enough, Emily added, her voice shaking but firm. But then you seated a tech CEO in ripped designer jeans because you recognized him from a magazine. More staff members began speaking up. Stories poured out, instances of Gerald treating regular people with disdain while fawning over anyone wealthy or famous. Keanu listened to all of it, didn't interrupt. Just let the truth emerge. When the staff finally went quiet, he spoke again. Mr. Morrison, you said yesterday that you were protecting the restaurant's standards, but what you were actually protecting was your own sense of power, your ability to decide who's worthy and who isn't. Gerald's hands were shaking now. Mr. Reeves, I've managed this restaurant for 8 years. I've maintained profitability, kept the reputation intact. One mistake shouldn't. It's not one mistake, Keanu said. It's a pattern, a culture, and it ends today. He pulled out a folder and handed it to Gerald. These are documented complaints from staff members over the past 3 years. 18 people have reported your behavior. Some complained about how you treat customers, others about how you treat them. Gerald opened the folder, his face going pale as he scanned the pages. You told a server she was too fat to work the front of house, Keanu continued. You made racist comments about a busboy's accent. You mocked a customer with a visible disability, saying she brought down the ambiance. Each accusation hit like a physical blow. Gerald's legs actually wobbled. Those are taken out of context. 18 people, Gerald. 18 different accounts, all describing the same behavior. There is no context that makes that acceptable. Keanu took a breath, collecting himself. When he spoke again, his voice was gentler but no less firm. I bought this restaurant because I saw potential. A beautiful space, a talented team, a legacy worth preserving. But I also bought it because I heard about staff turnover, about good people leaving because they couldn't handle the environment anymore. He looked around at the gathered employees. I want Marcello's to be a place where people are proud to work, where customers feel welcomed regardless of their bank account or appearance, where dignity is the real standard we uphold. Emily was crying now. Marcus had his hand over his heart. Several kitchen staff were nodding emphatically. Mr. Morrison, Keanu said, turning back to Gerald, you're terminated, effective immediately. You'll receive 2 weeks severance and a neutral reference if requested. But you're done here. Gerald's mouth worked, soundlessly. Then anger flashed across his face. You can't do this. I have a contract. I'll sue. Linda stepped forward. Your contract includes a morals clause. The documented harassment and discrimination violate that clause. You have no legal ground to stand on, but please, consult an attorney if you wish. Gerald looked around the room desperately, as if searching for allies. He found none. The staff members wouldn't meet his eyes. This is because of yesterday, Gerald said bitterly, because I didn't recognize you, because I enforced a rule on a celebrity. No, Keanu said firmly. This is because you've created a toxic environment for years. Yesterday just made me aware of it. But even if I hadn't been personally involved, these complaints would have led to the same outcome. He gestured to the folder. Read them. Really read them. Maybe you'll understand what you've done. Maybe you'll change. I hope you do. Security, 2 men who'd been waiting outside, entered the room. Gentlemen, please escort Mr. Morrison to collect his personal belongings from his office. He's to have no unsupervised contact with staff or restaurant property. Gerald stared at Keanu with pure hatred. "You're going to regret this. I made this restaurant what it is." "No," Marcus called out from the back. "We made this restaurant what it is. You just took credit for it." Several staff members actually applauded. Gerald was escorted out, still protesting, still defending himself. The door closed behind him with a definitive click. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then Keanu smiled. "Well, that was intense. Anyone need a minute?" Nervous laughter rippled through the group. "Okay," Keanu continued, "let's talk about the future. First thing, I'm getting rid of the dress code. Not because standards don't matter, but because judging people by their clothes is shallow. I want Marcello's to welcome everyone." Emily raised a tentative hand. "What about maintaining the restaurant's upscale atmosphere?" "Atmosphere comes from service quality, not customer clothing," Keanu said. "Amazing food, attentive service, beautiful environment. That creates atmosphere. Not enforcing arbitrary rules about jackets." He walked to the center of the room. "Second, I want your input, all of you. You're here every day. You know what works and what doesn't. What would make this place better?" For the next hour, staff members shared ideas. Better scheduling, improved kitchen equipment, staff meal programs, mental health days, training opportunities. Keanu listened to everything, taking notes, asking questions. Linda recorded it all. "These are great," Keanu said finally. "We'll implement what we can immediately and develop plans for the rest. I also want to establish an anonymous reporting system. If you see harassment or discrimination from staff or customers, you need a safe way to report it." "What about from customers?" the server named Rachel asked. "Sometimes customers harass us, and we were always told to just take it." "No more," Keanu said firmly. "You don't have to accept abuse from anyone. We'll develop protocols for handling difficult customers without forcing you to endure mistreatment." The relief in the room was palpable. After the meeting, Emily approached Keanu nervously. "Mr. Reeves, I'm so sorry about yesterday. I should have stood up to Gerald. I should have—" "You did nothing wrong," Keanu said gently. "You were kind. You tried to help. Gerald was your boss. You were in an impossible position. But I could have done more. Emily, you're not responsible for his behavior. None of you are." He smiled. "Besides, I heard you've been here for 4 years. Multiple staff members mentioned you're great at your job and wonderful with customers." Emily blushed. "I just try to treat people well." "That's all it takes," Keanu said. "Actually, I want to talk to you about something. We need a new manager. Someone who understands that hospitality is about welcoming people, not gatekeeping. Are you interested?" Emily's eyes went wide. "Me? But I've never been a manager." "You've been managing customer relationships for 4 years. That's the hard part. The administrative stuff we can teach you." "What do you say?" Emily looked like she might cry again. "Yes, absolutely yes." "Great. You'll start training next week, and you're getting a significant raise." Marcus approached next. "Mr. Reeves, I just want to say, what you did today took courage. A lot of owners would have quietly fired Gerald to avoid drama, but you addressed it head on, in front of everyone. That matters." "Transparency matters," Keanu said. "Problems fester in darkness. Sometimes you need to pull them into the light." Marcus grinned. "Well, you certainly did that. The look on Gerald's face when you walked in. I'll remember that forever." Keanu laughed. "I'm sure it's already a meme somewhere." "Oh, it definitely is," Marcus confirmed, pulling out his phone. "Sure. Enough." Screenshots of Gerald's shocked expression were all over social media, accompanied by captions like, "When karma arrives early, and that moment you realize you messed with the wrong person." Over the next few weeks, Marcello's underwent a transformation. The dress code was abolished, staff received raises, working conditions improved, an anonymous reporting system was implemented. Most importantly, the culture changed. Without Gerald's toxic influence, the staff flourished. They smiled more, laughed more, treated customers with genuine warmth instead of forced politeness, and customers noticed. Reviews that had mentioned stuffy atmosphere and pretentious staff were replaced with praise for welcoming environment and genuine hospitality. Business actually increased. People enjoyed dining at places where they feel welcomed rather than judged. Keanu visited regularly, usually unannounced. Sometimes he'd eat in the dining room, sometimes he'd hang out in the kitchen, talking to the chefs. Once he helped a busboy who'd gotten overwhelmed during a rush. He never pulled rank, never demanded special treatment, just showed up as a regular person who happened to own the place. The staff loved him for it. 3 months after Gerald's firing, Emily, now the official manager, called a staff meeting. "I have good news," she announced. "We just received our quarterly financial report. Revenue is up 18% compared to last year. Customer satisfaction scores are the highest they've ever been, and staff retention is at 100%. Nobody's quit in 3 months. The staff erupted in applause. This is because of all of you, Emily continued. Your hard work, your kindness, your commitment to making Marcello's a place where everyone feels welcome. Marcus raised his hand. It's also because we finally have leadership that trusts us and treats us like human beings. More applause. Emily wiped her eyes. 6 months after his firing, Gerald wrote Keanu a letter. It arrived at Marcello's, forwarded through Linda. Keanu opened it in his office at the restaurant. Emily was there, reviewing schedules. The letter was 5 pages long, single-spaced. Gerald wrote about losing everything, his career, his reputation, his sense of identity. He'd defined himself by his position, and without it, he didn't know who he was. But he also wrote about realizing he'd been wrong. I've had 6 months to reflect, Gerald wrote, to read the complaints, to watch the videos, to see myself through others' eyes. I was cruel. I justified cruelty as maintaining standards, but really, I just enjoyed the power of deciding who was worthy and who wasn't. He detailed specific incidents he regretted, apologized to staff members by name, acknowledged the harm he'd caused. I don't expect forgiveness, the letter concluded. I don't deserve it, but I wanted you to know that your actions changed me. Losing everything forced me to confront who I'd become. I'm in therapy now, working on myself, trying to understand why I needed to feel superior to others. Keanu read the letter twice, then handed it to Emily. She read it silently, her expression complex. Do you believe him? I think he's trying, Keanu said. Whether he succeeds in changing is up to him, but acknowledging the problem is the first step. Are you going to respond? Keanu considered this. Maybe. What do you think? Emily thought for a long moment. He made my life miserable for 4 years. Made a lot of people miserable. But if he's genuinely trying to change, maybe encouragement would help. Not forgiveness. He hasn't earned that. But acknowledgement that growth is possible. Keanu smiled. You're wise, you know that? I learned from the best. Keanu did write back, a brief letter acknowledging Gerald's reflection and encouraging his continued growth. He didn't offer friendship or forgiveness, just recognition of the work Gerald was doing. It wasn't about Gerald deserving a call response. It was about Keanu choosing to believe in people's capacity to change. A year after that day, Marcello's was thriving. It had become known not just for excellent food, but for exceptional hospitality. The place where everyone was welcome. Celebrities ate there, yes. But so did families, students, workers, elderly couples, first dates, business meetings, birthday celebrations. No one was turned away for their appearance. No one was made to feel less than. And Keanu still stopped by regularly, sometimes on his motorcycle, wearing the same leather jacket that had gotten him kicked out a year ago. One afternoon, he was having lunch in his usual corner booth when a family came in. Parents and 3 kids, all dressed casually. The youngest couldn't have been more than 5. Emily greeted them warmly. Welcome to Marcello's. How many today? 5, please, the mother said. Then, nervously, is it okay that we didn't know there was a dress code? There's no dress code, Emily assured her. Just come as you are. Let me get you our best family table. The relief on the mother's face was visible. Keanu watched this interaction from his booth, a small smile on his face. Marcus, passing by with a tray of drinks, noticed Keanu watching. Feels good, doesn't it? What's that? Seeing what this place has become, what it was always supposed to be. Keanu nodded. Yeah, it does. You know, Marcus said, I've worked in restaurants for 15 years. This is the first place that's ever felt like family, where management actually cares about us as people. That's because of Emily, and all of you. It started with you, Marcus countered. You set the tone. Everything else followed. After Marcus left, Keanu returned to his meal. The family Emily had seated was laughing together, the kids excited about the menu. Other diners chatted happily. The atmosphere was warm and genuine. This was what restaurants should be, places where people gather, connect, share. Meals and moments and memories. Not places where power-hungry managers decide who's worthy of basic human dignity. 2 years after the incident, a food critic from a major publication visited Marcello's. Her review was glowing. Marcello's represents the evolution of fine dining, she wrote. Where exclusivity once meant excluding, this restaurant has redefined it to mean exceptional food, exceptional service, exceptional humanity. She detailed the experience, the warmth of the greeting, the knowledge of the servers, the beauty of the plating, the complexity of the flavors. But what she emphasized most was the feeling. "I've dined at Michelin-starred restaurants worldwide," she wrote. "Many made me feel impressed. Marcello's made me feel welcomed. That's far more rare and far more valuable." The review mentioned Keanu's ownership and the restaurant's philosophy. "True class isn't about what you're wearing. It's about how you treat people." The review went viral. Reservations flooded in. Marcello's became one of the most sought-after restaurants in the city, and through it all, Keanu remained humble. When reporters asked about his restaurant success, he deflected credit to the staff. When awards came, he insisted Emily and the team accept them. "I just own the building," he'd say. "They're the ones who make it special." 5 years after Gerald's firing, Emily was featured in a restaurant industry magazine. "The manager who replaced a tyrant," read the headline. In the interview, she talked about her journey from hostess to manager, about learning leadership through trial and error, about building a culture where staff felt valued. "What's the most important thing you learned?" the interviewer asked. Emily thought carefully. "That rules without compassion aren't really rules, they're weapons, and that the best way to maintain standards is to treat everyone with dignity. When you do that, people rise to meet your expectations." "What would you say to other managers running their teams through fear?" "I'd say it's not sustainable. Maybe you'll get short-term results, but you'll lose good people. You'll create toxic environments, and eventually, it'll catch up to you." She paused. "I watched it happen to my predecessor. He thought power meant controlling others, but real power is empowering others, helping them grow, creating environments where people thrive." The interviewer asked if she'd heard from Gerald. "He reached out a few years ago, apologized. He's working at a small cafe now, learning humility from the ground up. I hope he's genuinely changed." "Have you forgiven him?" Emily considered this. "I'm working on it. Forgiveness is a process, not a moment, but I appreciate that he's trying to be better. That matters." Today, Marcello's continues to thrive. It's expanded to 2 additional locations, both run with the same philosophy: exceptional food and service for everyone, regardless of appearance or wealth. Emily now oversees all 3 locations. She's become a respected voice in the hospitality industry, speaking at conferences about creating inclusive, supportive restaurant cultures. Marcus is executive chef at the original location. Several other former staff members have been promoted to leadership positions across the 3 restaurants. And Keanu still shows up unannounced, usually on his motorcycle, wearing that same leather jacket. No one tries to kick him out anymore. Last month, a new hostess did ask him about his helmet when he walked in, not to enforce a dress code, but to offer to store it safely for him while he ate. "We have a special spot for motorcycle gear," she explained. "Keeps it secure." Keanu smiled. "That's very thoughtful. Thank you." "Of course. Welcome to Marcello's. We're happy to have you." That simple exchange, genuine welcome instead of judgment, represents everything that changed after Gerald's departure. It's what Marcello's has become. It's what all restaurants should be. It's what all businesses should aspire to. Places where people are valued, where dignity is the real standard, where kindness is the measure of success.